Morning. Welcome to the Town of Surf City work session agenda for June 21st, 2024. At this time, I'm calling the meeting to order, and I'm going to ask Trudy Solomon if she would stand up and lead us in our invocation.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this wonderful town that we live in. We thank you for the dedicated and diligent people who are always working to care for us, to provide, to serve, to direct. We have so many wonderful things going on in our town, Lord. Help us to highlight those things. Help us to celebrate and embrace each other. Help us to work for good. Help us to do things for our good and for the greater good. But Lord, be with us as we tackle the challenges that we face here. We pray over those in our community who are hurting and suffering in some way, Lord, that we come alongside them and love on them and do our best to be that care that they need. And we ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
And if Jeremy Shugarts will lead us in our pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please silence your cell phones.
Carla just informed me that no one signed up for public comment. So we're going to move straight into our work plan items. And item number 1 is the appointment of a liaison to the Greater Topsail Community Alliance Advisory Committee. And I think Carla's going to deliver. Oh, excuse me. Can I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor of adopting the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries to adopt the agenda. Item number 1, which was Carla for the appointment of the liaison to the Greater Topsail Alliance Advisory Committee.
This committee was started in 2018, and at the time, Council adopted a resolution to appoint Jeremy Shugarts for a 3-year term, so that will expire this year, and Council will either need to reappoint him or a different liaison.
I'll make a motion to get Jeremy to, again, I'm sorry. I've had a rough month.
Before we move forward, because I just have a little discussion.
Yeah.
Can you tell us what you do, Jeremy?
Yes. So I meet with, well, we take a hiatus usually in the summer because it's a little bit more difficult, but I meet with the mayor of Hawley Ridge is the appointed member from in this group, which is Jeff Wenzel, the mayor of North Topsail, which is Joanne McDermott, and the Tim Zizek, which is the commissioner of Topsail Beach. And we meet monthly just to kind of share information back and forth that I'm able to bring back to this mayor or council, find out information that may be helpful for us if something's going on that we may not know about. So it's just been, we usually have a luncheon, sit down and chat, and if there's something pertinent on the table, we sit down and talk about it. And I'll call Teresa or let the council know if there was something going on in that city that affects us. If not, then it's been a good open communication. That's really what it's about, is just keeping the lines of communication open between the 4 towns.
Any discussion? So I had a motion. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those that oppose, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 2 is the Police Department organizational restructuring, and Chief Phil Voorhees will come forward and present.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to be here. In your agenda packets is a packet with a request for organizational restructuring of the police department. The police department requests to modify its organizational structure by introducing a new administrative lieutenant position. The new position will not require any additional personnel, but will instead replace an existing sergeant position until the need arises for it to be filled based on department needs and growth. The department's administrative structure has not been updated since 2007, and since then the department has grown substantially, leading to an increase in administrative responsibilities. Due to the department's growth, it's now become necessary to separate administrative and patrol responsibilities. Both if this position is granted, both the patrol and administrative lieutenant will serve in specialized leadership roles. The patrol division is often the front line of law enforcement, and the patrol lieutenant provides critical leadership within the division overseeing day-to-day operations. The administrative lieutenant will focus on the functions of the police department, encompassing various non-operational tasks, including personnel management, budgeting, training, policy development, and community outreach. By making this move, we're dividing responsibilities of one officer and making it into two positions. The patrol lieutenant will focus on operational aspects of policing, including crime prevention, response to emergencies, traffic management, and community policing initiatives, while the administrative lieutenant manages administrative functions that support the overall mission of the police department, such as human resources, finance, training, and policy development. These roles should have complementary skill sets, with the patrol lieutenant possessing strong leadership and decision-making skills, have crisis management skills honed through years of frontline experience and specialized training, while the administrative lieutenant will demonstrate proficiency in the administrative management, financial planning, policy analysis with a focus on strategic thinking and long-term planning. Having separate roles will enhance operational efficiency and accountability, and having dedicated leadership roles for patrol and administration ensures clear lines of authority, accountability, and oversight within the police department. It will further strengthen our community engagement and trust. Effective leadership at both operational and administrative levels enhances police department's ability to engage with the community, build trust, and foster positive relationships. In conclusion, the roles of the patrol lieutenant and administrative lieutenant are essential components of a modern police department, providing specialized leadership in operational and administrative domains respectively. By leveraging their expertise, experience, and strategic vision, these leadership positions contribute to the overall effectiveness, efficiency, and accountability of law enforcement agencies, ultimately enhancing public safety and community well-being. To go back and touch on, we haven't updated our administrative structure since 2007. In 2007, a lieutenant position, a deputy chief position, which is now filled by a captain, and a chief position were the administrators. We have doubled in size since then, and our administrative responsibilities are heavy on our administrators. I served as the patrol lieutenant for 6.5 years, and my duties encompass both administrative and patrol functions. It was a daunting task to complete everything, and a lot of times stuff fell through the cracks because there was just not enough time to complete it. It's come to the point now that we must separate these roles, and I want to have a very strong leadership position within the patrol division. That patrol lieutenant will work with patrol. He will not be in the office. He'll work directly with the patrol division, supervising patrol sergeants, who therefore supervise the patrol officers that are on the road. On the other hand of that, we're going to have the administrative lieutenant who works in the office and handles all those administrative responsibilities that tend to bog you down. And by splitting that, we're going to become much more efficient. Also in your packets, there are brand new job descriptions for both the patrol lieutenant and the administrative lieutenant. And in the back of your packet is the new organizational structure that shows the chief of police to the captain, to the administrative lieutenant, down to the patrol division and support services and investigations. I'd be happy to answer any questions anybody has.
Anyone have any questions for Chief Voorhees?
Nope, sounds great.
This
Yes.
is going to be a strong move for the police department.
So what council will need, if you're in agreement, which I'm certainly in agreement with both chiefs, you're going to see a very similar request coming from Chief Wilson next, is the approval of the reclassification to create the positions. Once again, just to reiterate, we're not adding any positions, but the reclassification of these jobs has to come before you to be approved.
I'll make a motion to,
I think at this time we just need a consensus.
okay.
Everybody agree?
Yeah, yes, definitely.
Anybody opposed?
Nope.
All right.
I have a question for you, can I, if you don't mind? Thank you. After a different subject, since you're standing here. I asked the mayor if I could ask this, so I want to make sure. As you know, we've had a lot of traffic concerns on some busy weekends. And so I just want to kind of address this with you, and maybe you could give us some insight if you don't mind. I know we've discussed this with the mayor and the manager. One of the concerns is we have South Shore Drive. On some busy weekends, people are waiting 2 hours to get up to the traffic circle. People are upset about it. It's a safety issue. tell us about what you're doing and what some of the things you're working on to try to help that along a little bit. I mean, listen, let's be honest. There's nothing really going to help it, but we want to do as much as we can. So talk to me about what you're doing, if you don't mind, please.
All right, so let me get back up and give you a little bit of an overview of what we're looking at in Surf City on any given day, on a holiday or a weekend. The Saturday of Memorial Day weekend saw 38,000 vehicles in Surf City, 38,000 one day. We saw a phenomenon happen that day and corresponding days after, where we had thunderstorms move through the area in the afternoon, and we had a mass exodus. And that mass exodus pushes everyone off the beach into their vehicles, and everyone tries to leave. I'm going to show you what happened during that time. We had storms moving in from the south, and going back and looking at the camera footage, you can actually see people just flooding off the beaches as soon as the lightning starts to crack and the rain starts to happen. So you've got a massive amount of people that have moved into Surf City. Like I said, we had 38,000 vehicles in town that weekend, or that day. Everybody leaves at the same time. This is the Island Side roundabout. Now, we've got some choke points, and these choke points really slow down traffic. We've got vehicles coming down North Topsail Drive, North Shore Drive. They're combining here at South Shore Drive, moving down. The vehicles coming north on South Shore and south on South Shore are now combining at Kinston Avenue and moving to South Topsail Drive, where they're now having to merge with vehicles at South Topsail Drive. Keep in mind, all the traffic that's coming from Topsail Beach has to come through Surf City. So all that traffic from all those people that are coming off the beach in Topsail Beach are now flooding into Surf City, trying to get into our roundabout to leave. That traffic has to merge here. That traffic again has to merge into the traffic circle and has to merge another time with North New River Drive to then cross the bridge and get on their way onto the mainland. When that happened and we saw that flood of vehicles, we went into gridlock. And at that point, the only thing that was going to solve that was time. We saw an event similar to the 3rd of July when we had a mass flux of people trying to leave town at the same time. Now, coming forward into last weekend, when we looked at the counts from last weekend, we actually had more vehicles in town on Saturday last weekend than we did on the Memorial Day weekend. We counted 39,000 vehicles in town last weekend, and I monitored the traffic all weekend, and what I found was we had no storms, and we had no traffic jams at the end of the day. People just slowly left the beach. Traffic was very heavy, but it was consistently moving. So I've been working with the manager, and we've been looking at different ideas of how we can strategically go about this and educating the public on what happens and trying to get the word out of advance warning of storms coming into town and how to drive in a traffic circle, because we see a lot of people that come into that traffic circle and they think that yield sign is a stop sign and they stop, and that stop and go traffic tends to back everything up, plus all the choke points that I just showed you. When you get that many vehicles and that many choke points in one small area, and we've got one road that leads off our bridge onto the mainland, it's going to cause traffic, and there's not much that any of us can do about that. I did talk to DOT the 3rd of July. We're changing the light scheme on the mainland to try to alleviate some of the traffic leaving, so we can try to flow it out, and we'll monitor that to make sure, to see what those changes have done and if that helps traffic at all, and maybe we can incorporate some of that back into our plan on holiday weekends when it's busy. But I think that we are going to see a 3rd of July weekend and see holiday weekends and weekends going forward in general in Surf City that are the busiest we've ever seen before, with the growth of not only Surf City, Hampstead, Hawley Ridge, Sneads Ferry, and the surrounding area. We're seeing more people on our beaches, and our call volume for the police department is higher than it's ever been before. And we went over that during the budget times, but we were 17% higher than last year, and I think next year we're going to be 17% higher than, I think 24 is going to be 17 to 20% higher than 23. And we're going to continue to grow. We're going to continue to have traffic problems in the long term. But I'm working with the manager to try to alleviate some of that, get education out there, and look at some other areas where we can hopefully keep people in town instead of them trying to flood out immediately. That's things we're going to work on going forward. But we are having a serious issue with choke points on the island, and trying to put police officers in all those locations to alleviate that traffic Once you do something at one point, you're going to directly affect another point. So if we stop traffic here, traffic's just going to back up on this side even more. This traffic circle is designed to have people merge and flow. But when you put that many vehicles in it, it becomes gridlock. And like I said before, the only thing that's going to solve that is time. I hope that answered your question.
It does, exactly. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you for the update.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any
Thank
other
you.
questions or concerns?
Nope, thank you. Appreciate
Thank you.
it. Thanks, Chief.
All right, item number 3 is the fire department organizational restructuring request, and Chief Alan Wilson will give us
Good
his
morning.
report.
How are you? Thank you
Good.
for the opportunity to speak to you today. We have a very similar proposal that you just heard from the police department. The fire department does seek to modify its organizational structure by introducing the new administrative assistant chief position. This position will not require new personnel, but will replace a suppression person that's on the truck now. The department requests town council approve the attached job description and reclassification. We haven't changed our organizational structure since 1999, except for adding the fire marshal position in 2021. But our substantial growth has led to an overwhelming increase in administrative responsibilities, posing a challenge for us all. This growth necessitates a further separation of administrative and suppression responsibilities, a change that we believe is not only necessary but crucial for our continued success. This new position will basically oversee the functions of recruitment retention, optimizing resource allocation, promoting organizational effectiveness, and they will also manage administrative tasks that are mission critical to our success, such as human resources, finance, training, policy development. They'll collaborate with the suppression division to streamline processes, implement best practices, and ensure compliance with legal and regulatory requirements, thereby significantly enhancing our operational capabilities. You do have in your packet the job description for this new position, as well as a new organizational structure for the fire department. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Anyone have any questions? Do we have a consensus to move forward?
Yes. Yes.
Does anyone oppose? All right, we have a consensus.
All right, thank you.
Thank
I
you.
can't help with the traffic.
We were going to
Sorry.
ask you some traffic questions too.
Thank you.
Good job for your demonstration, your whole ocean rescue team and fire department the other day. If you haven't watched it on YouTube, you should definitely watch the ocean rescue in action. If you want to say a little,
Commissioner Causey.
My understanding is the Department of Insurance is going to release that video to the public today at 1 o'clock through social media and through their channels. So we do have a copy of it already. I'm assuming Kelly will probably get it out on ours as well. But it turned out pretty good. I like it. So.
Yeah, and the North Carolina Department of Insurance Commissioner Mike Causey came down on Wednesday, I believe, and did a video for nationwide consumption, I assume, but highlighting Surf City, not just for water safety, but also the fire department for some of the response protocols they put in place with the ocean rescue jet ski and that whole program, the life-saving stations that have been put up and the ocean flag conditions. So just good sort of recognition for the town and the fire department. So.
I'd like to say something. For the fire, the large fire that happened on South Topsail Drive, it was yards from my house. And so I think the fire department did an incredible job. My entire neighborhood is extremely thankful that no other houses were really damaged. There's one house that has some siding that's melted, but that was close. That was close to a lot of homes and trees. The trees are still intact and everything. It's just incredible. You did an incredible job.
Thank you. I'll let everybody know.
Yeah.
Thank you.
thank you. All right, item number 4 is the Topsail Island Shoreline Protection Committee Charter Update, and Kyle Brewer will present.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and good morning, Council. This is the Topsail Island Shoreline Protection Commission, in which the town of Surf City is a participating member of that island-wide commission. They are governed under a adopted charter by all municipalities and the participating Onslow County and Pender County. The last amendment to that charter was completed in July 2016. There's been significant changes in regard to the scope of what that commission has taken up over the years and has acted on, including legislative priorities, which they are working on as their work plan through their lobbyists. But it was documented that the charter was out of date and needed to reflect what that organization's mission includes. So additions to the charter include the keeping stakeholders informed regarding property insurance, beach nourishment, this overall resiliency of the island, certain navigation issues, environmental stewardship, the Beach Clean Initiative, the Salt Marsh Ecosystem, and the North Carolina Beach and Inlet Management Plan, whereas the prior charter really only focused on, bulk of their focus was beach nourishment. So felt that it was prudent to make some of these changes. It is necessary for all towns and both counties to agree to the charter revision, so that is what is being brought forward to you. And I will note just real quick that the three towns submitted a joint application for Vitex eradication. We were awarded that grant. There's matching funds required for it, but this is something, if we're going to be communicating with all residents in three towns, the managers will most likely set all the information to come from the TISPC website, so that there's consistent communication to all property owners and what the program is going to provide. But just wanted to give that quick update for the board and for the public for that to come forward. But we're looking for a consensus to move this to your July agenda for approval, and then we'll send that back down to the chairman.
Is there a consensus to move forward?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? All right, we are moving forward. Item number 5 is the personnel handbook update, and Kyle will also present that.
All right, thank you again. So from time to time, we take a look at our handbook and make updates as necessary. This is coming off of the heels of the adoption of the recent recruitment and retention strategy document that we looked at, I believe, last month. But there are several other sections that were identified that we needed to update, and I'm going to go through a couple of these more in detail than others. The first section that I'll just quickly talk about is just workers' compensation. We found that the League of Municipalities has provided some recommended language, so we simply updated that. It doesn't change anything that we're necessarily doing. The second item is the safety shoe section. Certain job classifications and positions within the town require the use of safety shoes, steel-toed boots, etc. And the personnel handbook referenced a dollar amount in which would be credited back to the employee for the purchase of their own boots. We removed that dollar amount and felt like it's probably better administered through the budgeting process as opposed to being within the handbook. So we made that change. Donated time, if employees come upon some hard times, maybe have to be out due to sickness and they don't have sick time, other employees are able to donate some of their time to that employee. So we updated the wording for understanding of that, but doesn't change how that process is undertaken. The North Carolina Elders, or Local Government Employee Retirement System, this is a new section that we are adding, and essentially there's been some changes, state and federal, but essentially some roles in the town require more than the 999-hour threshold of this part-time status. when a part-time employee works more than 999 hours, but less than 2,080, they should be enrolled in the, or they shall be enrolled in the Elgers system, so the retirement system. There's a contribution that the town has to make. So when we looked at this, there's certain job classifications that, even though they're part-time, require a considerable amount of training, investment from the town for them to do their job. So what we found was that just a real quick through a financial analysis is that we would be paying more for additional training if we had to hire 2 people to cover that position and keep them under the hour threshold than it would be to contribute to the Elgers for that employee. So, for example, somebody that may fill a part-time role that has specialized duties may have to get into certain software systems. They have to go to school to learn these and get certifications. Again, we're paying more for that than we would be to do that. So what we're asking is that we are able to do that. Myself and the Human Resources Director would work with the department head to do that analyzation of that position and request back from the department head, and would make a decision as to whether or not that part-time position would be a contributory, as opposed to we would just hire 2 people to work 1,100 hours throughout the year, if that makes sense. So this is what we're requesting to do. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer them now if I need to clarify any more, but all right. The next item was removal of credit union membership. It was just somewhat obsolete within the handbook. And then moving on to item 6, these were items that were documented through that recruitment and retention strategic plan. Number 6 is add other benefit section for full-time employee. We're just identifying things that we already do for these employees, which is provide a parking pass, discounts for park recreation and tourism activities, classes and rentals, and then free access to the community center fitness center. Again, we're already doing those things. This is new for after retirement benefits. So when we met with the committee to discuss these potential benefits to be included for after retirement employees, we said, okay, we didn't think that it would be fair if somebody came to Surf City with the amount of time to be able to retire within the system. If they came and worked here for a year, that probably wouldn't be fair. So we set a threshold for employees with 10 consecutive years retiring directly from the town may receive 1 paid parking pass per year. They would be eligible for discounts for parks, recreation, and tourism activities, classes, and rentals, and then have free access to the community center fitness center, were benefits that we felt that we would be able to offer post-retirement for these employees who have been here at least 10 years before their retirement. Any questions on that one? All right. The next item was the regular part-time benefits. These, again, just to reiterate, does not include seasonal or temporary employees, but these positions, may serve the town for many years and serve a vital role. We have certain employees with this job classification that have been staples in our community. So we felt like this was one thing that we could provide to those regular part-time employees. Again, the 3 things about parking, access to discounts for Parks and Rec classes, rentals, activities, and then access to the community center fitness center. So again, those would be generally the only benefits that the town is providing the part-time employee, but felt like that was something that we would be able to do. There's numerous administrative and grammatical errors. Anytime we open up the handbook for revisions, we take a look at that. We had corrections and or removal of any gender bias wording, in which our HR went through and analyzed. And then we are replacing the telework and flex schedule assignment with the flexible work arrangement, just to provide some clarity for those situations in which flex scheduling may be evaluated and approved, or a telework arrangement could be reviewed and approved. As a reminder, we put this, I don't want to say hastily, but we had to put this in place at COVID, mainly for the telework, and it just wasn't really jiving telework versus flexible work scheduling. So we just wanted to update that form and get that back into the handbook. More than happy to answer any questions that council may have on the handbook updates.
I met with Lydia, and she went over this extensively, and I thought I understood all of it. It made a lot of sense, so. I'm good.
Right, so we just need a consensus to move forward.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
I'll make a motion to move forward.
Just a
Oh,
consensus.
sorry. What's wrong with me
Yeah.
today?
More motions, John.
Okay, I'm motionless now.
I'll make the motion, John, make a motion.
We're gonna,
Just nudge me.
All right. Item number 6, the sole source form for Gen Pro, and David Price will come up and present.
Good morning, Mayor, Council. As you know, we established a sole source forum to streamline some of the crucial bidding processes. This is no such one. Gen Pro has been under contract for the last 2 years. This will be a 3rd year if we renew it. That takes care of all the utility department's generators. In the 7 years prior to them getting a contract, the town has had a lot of trouble finding reliable generator mechanics that service it in alignment with the FEMA schedule. Just give you history on that, and James can back me up. The generators, in order to claim reimbursement in case of emergency, had to be maintained to a certain regularity and had to be documented historically. Gen Pro has done a good job the last 2 years. We'd like to keep that going, and what we're afraid of is if we bid it out, it might come in lower, but we'll be sacrificing service and historical knowledge of our system. So with that, we'd like to name Gen Pro as a sole source.
Anyone have any questions?
Consensus, I'm sorry.
Do we have a consensus to move forward?
yes, John, right?
Yes, we do have that.
Yes, please. Yes.
All right, thank you. Item number 7 is sole source form for picnic tables, and Jody Shepherd from Parks and Rec will deliver.
Good morning. I have the next 2 other items on the agenda as well, all 3 of them being sole source forms, so I'll start with the first one. So the sole source vendor request for the ADA picnic tables, these are the picnic tables that we have been using the last few years, keeping it consistent so that way as we continue to expand these picnic tables throughout the town, everything is consistent and matches. And we worked with this vendor for several years, and they've been able to keep our prices consistent.
Consensus?
Yes.
All right, we have a consensus on picnic tables.
Moving
Up is sole source form for benches.
So our classic bench, these are the benches that you see all over town, throughout Soundside Park, and again, keeping it consistent with everything that you'll see in the town. A vendor that we have been using for multiple years. Asking for the consensus to be able to continue with the continuity of services for sole source.
And Madam Mayor, if I can just add real quick, we have looked at other products when trying to purchase for consistency. And for example, we got a similar but not the same product for trash can receptacles with the DOT enhancement project. And they're different than the other ones with the town, even though they may look the same. It requires a whole different method in which Chris's folks are retrieving waste out of those, and so that's again, not because we just want to go back to the same vendor and purchase and purchase and purchase. It is consistency for operations as well. And, you know, if we find in the future that there are vendors that we can look at their product and feel comfortable with, it's not something that we're going to just be solely locked into this Kirby or whoever the vendor may be. So I just want to make sure that that's clear for mainly for the record, that, you know, this is why we are pursuing these sole source on some of these things. And periodic review of contracts or purchasing should be done, you know, and you know, we can always reach out to another generator service provider to come look at our generators and meet with them, talk to them, and if there's a level of comfort, then yes, we can put things out to bid, and we certainly will. But just want to kind of put that on the record, as you know, we've seen a lot of these sole source now come before us.
I have a question about that. So how often do you know, for example, like, so I would imagine all of the council, we're not assuming, we're under the understanding you're doing your homework, Melissa's doing her homework, Jody's doing her homework before you even come to us about this, and you're making sure you do your due diligence. But how often are you checking on that process? Is it every 6 months, every year, every 2 years? How often do you do that?
Well, generally, you know, if we're under a contract, it's going to be when that contract is coming up for bid again, we can then look and reach out, and that's something that we'll make sure that when we have these sole sources identified with the vendor, that we will go back to the department head and ask them what, you know, if they're trying to renew the contract, even though they've had the sole source. Hey, what steps have you taken to try and fill any void? Because again, you know, if you only have one vendor for something like a service contract, that locks us in, and you know, if that company goes away tomorrow, we then have to start that over again. So it's something that we will certainly, when those contracts come up for due, ask those questions to see if that investigation has occurred.
I think you can agree that sometimes it goes either both ways. Sometimes if you have a contract solely with somebody, they take the piss out of you, right? Right? Or they really want your business, so they do the best they can to keep you there. That's right. And of course, you guys are monitoring that, obviously.
Yeah, and the purpose of sole source is not to identify a certain vendor just because you have a relationship with them. You know, that's what will get us in trouble.
I have a question. I know that when we had the discussion with Price before, the last sole source that we agreed on, the idea was that, one, you're confident with the company, you've been dealing with them for a while, but they also deliver in a timely fashion.
Yeah.
Does this hold true with these guys? Does the lead time get cut, or the delivery time get cut because we have a sole source with them? So in other words,
I mean, generally, you're going to see that lead time or that service time get cut because we have a contract with them. So that the sole source shouldn't really have come into play with it. We should be a valued customer just like anybody else would if we have a contract.
right, but like when we were talking about the pumps the last time, it
Yeah.
was because that's vital for time. Picnic tables might not be vital for time, but do we benefit anything from that sole source contracts opposed to somebody else that comes off the street? Like, you know, how long does it take you to get when you order a picnic table? How long does it take you to?
Yeah, well, and for sole source can be applied for different reasonings. For the benches and trash can receptacles and, you know, the things within the park, it's generally not going to be like an emergency type situation.
That
It's
doesn't-
this
yeah.
one's going to be more so for consistency and branding, overall branding and image type
Yeah.
deal.
But you figure the turnaround time's better than others, or you don't really know? You know what I mean?
This really hasn't been a factor for
Okay,
a
okay.
bench.
Yeah, it's not like a
Yeah,
vital
yeah.
thing, like we need it tomorrow, but I'm just saying, you know,
Yeah.
is there any advantage? Is
Probably-
that an advantage with the sole source?
Probably, I'm just assuming, but probably not. Yeah. We haven't had any issues with
Yeah, I mean,
with
you
getting
know,
a bench.
emergency benches needed, but I'm just like, when in Price's situation, it
That's
makes a
right.
difference for a pump, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah, apples and oranges with those situations, but still important considerations to take.
I'm just wondering.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jody, you got
Thank
beat up
thank
on.
you, Kyle, for,
She can take it, come
for
on.
your input on that. I think a lot of times it's just like, people need to understand why we're sole sourcing.
Yeah.
It's just not, you know, you're still gonna keep an eye on it, you're gonna watch it. It's not something that's given out to one particular person because they're a friend or, you keep an eye on the relationship that is there between that sole source and the department head
Yeah.
that's ordering stuff.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
The research was put behind all three of these particular
Yes.
sole source forms to make sure that there was no other route.
Okay, do we have a consensus on benches?
Move it.
Yes.
Move it.
Consensus on benches. All right, next item is sole source form for trash receptacles.
So as Kyle mentioned earlier with the trash can, this was a
Move it.
challenge that we had. So the opportunity to move towards sole source for our double-sided trash can receptacles.
And this will be important for our new park.
Yes,
Yeah.
all of these items will be very important for
Yeah.
continuing
At the
consistency
skate park.
throughout the town.
Okay.
I agree. Yep, good.
Okay, so we have a consensus to move forward with trash receptacles.
Certainly.
All right, next item is Ward and Smith engagement contract, and Kyle will represent.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and council again. The town has a contract annual through an engagement letter with Ward and Smith. Ward and Smith primarily provides lobbying services focusing on water and sewer infrastructure, as well as just general guidance as the town navigates our legislative needs and priorities on an annual basis. We've been working with Ward and Smith. We brought them online in 2021, I believe, and have found that their services have been extremely beneficial for the town, as noted with our recent $20 million legislative appropriation for sewer. And then, again, as mentioned, the invaluable knowledge that they provide to us in navigating those legislative challenges in Raleigh, and then small portion of that going into DC. But I recommend us continue with this contract for next year. And again, we just have in my opinion, an invaluable resource with them, and have enjoyed our relationship with Ward and Smith providing these services.
Absolutely, I think they've done an excellent job of their representation and keeping us informed on a daily, if not weekly basis. So, is there a consensus to move forward with the Ward and Smith contract?
Yes.
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 Item number 11 is the offer to purchase a portion of property, PIN number 4235-90-2395-0000. And Kyle will present.
All right. Thank you again, Madam Mayor and Council. So the town has received an offer to purchase approximately 66 square feet of town-owned property identified by the parcel number that the mayor had just mentioned. This is a portion of Lot 7 identified in Plat Book 12, page 24, or identified also as the E.L. Yao survey. The parcel in question is located along Goldsboro Avenue, adjacent to the former Surf City Police Department. And if you were going into Goldsboro Avenue, it would be on the left. But Joe Lyons, on behalf of Alliance LLC, has offered the town $10,000 for the purchase of approximately 66 square feet, as shown on the attached site plan, option 2 modification, in order to allow for the development of the approved dining and event establishment. According to Alliance LLC, purchase of the property would allow them to square off its lot, which would allow for a more advantageous building footprint and additional square footage to be added to the restaurant. North Carolina General Statute 168-269 allows the town to consider the property in question as surplus and advertise the bid and request upset bids. I will note that due to the nature of the parcel and its size, a recombination subdivision would have to occur to add this square footage into the adjacent parcel. The size of the property would not allow for its separate subdivision to create a new parcel. This will limit the ability for additional bids to be submitted. Should the board consider the offer, a resolution will be presented at your July council meeting, and if approved, the clerk will then advertise according to statute. Also, Alliance LLC will be required to have the property surveyed and will incur all cost should the property disposal move forward. So that does include closing and recording costs on it. More than happy to answer any questions on it. Again, we've looked at this. Don't feel like it has any significant impact on the town's, any of the town's potential future plans for that vacant land off of Goldsboro Avenue. And I recommend we move forward with it.
Anyone have any questions? Everybody's aware where the property's at, and it's just a little triangle piece for him to square off a piece of property. All right, do we have a consensus to move forward?
Yes.
Yes.
All
Yes.
right. Item number 12, the planning board ordinance update, and Kyle will also present that.
All right, so this was probably due for some update, but there was a question that had come in about the chairperson voting on matters and the ordinance sort of dictating that the chair would not be able to vote, and then we started digging into it, and it said that the mayor would appoint the chair and the vice chair, and so this provides some opportunity to just provide some consistency and update the language. Of note, we referenced in multiple areas General Statute 160D, which is now the kind of the governing statute, planning statutes. The other changes do include the chair to be voted amongst members of their committee, and then also looking at attendance. Planning board members may be removed by the council at any time for failure to attend 3 consecutive meetings, for failure to attend 75% or more of the meetings within any 12-month period, or for any other good cause related to performance duties. And we will certainly provide any updates that council may request on attendance, but Amy and the planning department keep those attendance records. Other than that, that was really the big changes within here. Again, if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to try to answer.
I do, Kyle.
Yes, sir.
We talked the other day about 2 consecutive meetings, it's being changed to 3 consecutive.
2 to 3,
So I
yes.
disagree with that.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
So if we want to discuss that, that's fine. I think that 3 is, that means if you decide not to come if you decide not to come in February and you're there at the January, you don't come back till May. That doesn't show that you're representing your responsibility. So I think 3 should stay at 2. Because it doesn't say you can't skip a month and then come back a month.
Yeah.
It just says consecutive.
And also to the attending a month, skipping a month, attending a month, that would be addressed through the 75% whole also. So there would not be a loophole with planning board members' attendance, but we entrust that they're faithful and diligent attendance.
Well, just because I don't know what the rest of the council says, I just,
Sure.
my thoughts on it.
Sure.
I don't know anybody else.
That was my knee-jerk reaction, what you were talking about, but then I saw where it was,
Yep.
they've addressed like, kind of like the catch-all, 75%, so.
Okay.
You can establish this pattern of not missing the 2 or the 3, but really are not showing up, so I.
What
I
is
feel like I'm
3
completely-
75%? Is that 3 75%? What is 3 25%?
Now you're gonna make me do math.
Yeah.
Yeah.
3 would be a quarter.
3 would be a quarter, right? So if you miss 3, period,
Period.
period.
So if you miss 3
Okay.
within the year, that's eligible to be removed. It still would require a majority vote of the
3 or
board.
3 consecutive.
3 or 3, yeah.
Really, that's what.
But I think it just brings you up to be,
Okay. All right.
Yeah, if you miss 3, you're at that 75% threshold,
Okay, Roger.
regardless if it's consecutive or not. Yeah.
Good, that's what we're talking about. I want to talk it through there for a second.
when I was reading.
So we're gonna leave it at 3 and 75.
Council wants
Okay.
to do, That's fine, yeah.
Okay.
I think so, I think 3, but I don't know if that's consensus or most.
It would just be a consensus
consensus.
to
Yeah,
change
consensus.
it.
Because of the other, stipulation.
I like as long as the 75%'s in there, I'm good with it, yeah, for sure.
Is that 3 excused, unexcused? How does that work?
Just 3.
Just if you don't, if you just, no matter what the circumstances, if you don't show up.
Talk about
Well, look,
unexcused
man,
and
I don't mean
excused.
you're automatically gone now. Let's
Well,
not
yeah.
make
No,
that
yeah,
out.
I agree
Yeah,
with
and
that.
it's
I-
Because
just-
stuff comes up that's
Yeah,
out of your
listen,
control, and we got
you know,
to take that into
there's,
account.
Right.
weddings, there's funerals, there's hospital, there's things like that.
sickness,
But
yeah.
me having to be at my business does not quantify that. If my business is busy and I can't be there, then I shouldn't be on the board, is what I'm saying, is I have a responsibility. And so there's all these business owners, all these people that have jobs, they knew that responsibility when they took that position.
Correct.
Right, so that's what I'm saying, is I want to make sure that we distinguish between what is excused. I mean, if I go on vacation, that's really not my problem. I book my trips around it, or I miss.
That's right.
So I'm just saying, is I want to make sure we're clear on that.
Yeah, so at any time that council requests an attendance record of planning board, and you say, well, Member Smith has not been here 75% of the time, why is that? We'll be happy to provide you any excuse, whatever it might have been, so that you can make that decision, because again, the ordinance wouldn't automatically remove them. You would still vote as a majority of the board, and would have that opportunity to take up the reasoning if there were.
Well, I'm counting on
sort of
Mr.
differences.
Kennedy and Mrs. Hawley here will guide us on that,
Yes.
for sure.
Yeah.
If that's not happening, for sure.
Absolutely.
I'm sure you'll let us know who's not showing up or who's showing up, for sure.
I think the purpose too is that kind of red flag, so we can have a conversation with them and say, hey, are you comfortable with what this role requires? And if not, like, it gives them the opportunity to maybe step down at that point, or if they don't want to do that and we feel like they're not doing their job, then it puts us back in control to make that decision at that point.
Isn't that kind of made clear when you take the position, though? Shouldn't that be something that they understand? If somebody gets appointed to that committee, it's with the understanding that they must meet the requirement to make, and, you know.
Faithful attendance is generally.
That's why we do it, right? I mean, we
Yeah.
commit ourselves to do it, and
Sure.
we should be.
Yeah, when they
I'm sure the
commit,
intent-
Amy,
I'm sure
Amy,
the
come here real
intent's there
quick.
when they-
I got it.
when Whoever
I got
signs
it.
up, the intent, I'm sure, is there to attend and do, and sometimes life gets in the way and
Right.
priorities change.
Well, and when
You
you,
get lost in the
right, and when you
circus.
were appointed, you get lost in the circus.
well,
You get
there
appointed,
there
your
is
life
that certain
may change.
commitment level that someone makes when they do sign up for the planning board, and a lot of times they get on the planning board and they may not feel comfortable speaking up, or they may not know the knowledge, but I will say that Amy has had several training sessions provided this year with the Council of Government that came down with the planning board, and they had, we've had several meetings concerning the ordinance update, and, you know, there's some here that give their input and make comments, but I think we all would like to see more involvement, and Amy has several suggestions as far as like maybe some mock-up meetings to where we could just like, you know, have a scenario case to where we could all sit down and, well, why, in just general conversation as to if you were to vote no on a certain thing, why did you vote no?
Right.
You know, just general discussion to where they feel more comfortable in speaking up and giving their opinion and asking questions. But what is important is for them to read the ordinance, to understand the comprehensive land use plan, and to read their packet before they come and know what projects that we're talking about, you know, before they come to the meeting. And if there was, I think we had suggested there was like a checklist, you know, that was in front of each one of them. Did you read your package? Do you know where this property is located at? That so forth, that could help them, you know, maybe just like, hey, I did this, I did this, I did this. You know, it gives them some type of, I didn't do that and I need to.
I have a question, and I want to, just the last part, I was hoping you'd bring this up. You mentioned the other day about, when you look at the plan, like alternates should be, can you explain that process? You know, because we have a lot of alternates that are voting all the time, right? Is that correct? Yeah, so can you kind of explain that a little bit? How you see the planning board?
So my comment was that, you know, we have 8 standard members and then we have 2 alternates. It is
Can't hear you.
Is that not on?
It's on, it's just not.
You talk loud all the other times. There we go.
Get short and closer.
There we go.
So what I was saying is that on the planning board, you have 8 regulars and 2 alternates. It's nice if the alternates don't have to vote within the first year or two, because that's a chance for them to learn and to see how the procedure goes throughout that time. It's their opportunity to gather all of that information and see how it goes.
But that's not been happening.
Not lately, no, sir.
Okay, got it.
In years past, we could go a couple months and not have a planning board meeting, and now that doesn't happen anymore.
So last year, I think we missed 2 planning board meetings. However, when I was looking back, there were some years that we only had 2 or 3 planning board meetings. There were years that, we had 1 board of adjustment case, and now we're having
I was getting
multiple
ready to make a
cases
comment on that.
multiple times a year. So the amount of commitment that is going into planning board is a much larger commitment. And also, over the past couple of years, we've redone the comprehensive land use plan, which was extra meetings. We're redoing the ordinance right now, which is what I was reading when y'all were talking. I apologize. We're redoing that right now. So, there have been extra meetings and extra requests. Our developments are getting more complex, so there is more time needing to go into that background. One of the other things that we are looking at doing and have started doing some is inviting our planning members to TRC, so they can kind of see the review process that staff goes through, and that they can understand, what we're looking at and how we're really digging into it. We have a couple of members that have come and expressed interest in that, so we're going to continue to offer that as well.
I just
Shouldn't
want to
this
say,
be-
look, in the last year that I've been affiliated with the planning board, we have had some really good training, and it's been very educational. And but look, people, I'm telling you, this is an overwhelming amount of information to absorb, especially if you've not been doing it in a while. You start reading this text, it's technical, then it's see appendix this, see diagram here, connect that, and then you got to come back to where this is. I mean, it's a lot of stuff
commitment.
moving,
It's a big
a
commitment.
lot of moving parts. I do think that we need to encourage, and I can't help but think that people are doing it, but make sure they're reading these agendas in time to kind of know what's coming up. It's not off the fly. In the meetings I've attended, I feel like, yeah, there may be some that hadn't, but I don't know that they knew that they were going to be sitting that day. But I think most of them are on top of it. But if we can continue to encourage that, to be knowledgeable ahead of time, I think those things have kind of worked themselves out and continue with these training sessions. With that last one we had with the guy from the government, I thought was great.
was good.
He laid out some really good.
Yeah, we dissected a few planning board meetings that we had right before that, and really delved into how we voted, why we should have voted, was it a conflict of interest, what's the difference between a perceived conflict of interest and an actual conflict of interest. So the training went longer than I had anticipated and scheduled, but everybody stayed.
Thank you.
Shouldn't this be something that all committees should fall under, though? This type of situation where we're holding people to 75% or 3?
I'm going to look to Carla on the handbook. I'm sure there is provisions within other committees. I can't tell you.
If we're holding planning
specific,
board
but-
to it, I think we should hold everybody
Yeah, and
to it.
I'm pretty sure other committees
In
have
the
some.
handbook, which I don't have pulled up right now, but I believe it does account for that same principle. I believe it's about 75% for all
Yeah.
of them.
We can do a quick scan on it and get the board back, because these are the committees that do have attendance, these maybe don't, but we can get that back to you.
Yeah, just so it's all consistent.
Sure.
Like if we're going to have the planning board monitor, we're going to monitor them, I think we should know about all the other committees as well.
Sure.
Well, and one of the keys is making sure our chairpersons are taking attendance at each one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle.
All right, so you're just looking for a consensus to make these changes.
It's a consensus. I agree.
Agree.
Yes.
Okay, anybody opposed? We have a consensus.
I'd like to make a motion that we go into closed session pursuant North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A3. General, if you don't mind, for a closed session.
We have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. And we are in closed session.
Hello.
Can I have a motion to come back into regular session?
I make a motion to return to regular session.
Do I? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. We are back in regular session. No action was taken during closed session. So at this time, if I can have a motion to adjourn.
I will make a motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. We are adjourned.